Problem 17 from the review, you have the expression I wrote down here, and you're asked to evaluate. Alright, so if there's no equal sign, solving means evaluate. Order of operations, right? So you hopefully remember what you do first is parentheses. And I'm just going to go ahead and, because this might help some of you, I'm just going to rewrite this portion of the problem down here first. 2 to the 5th minus square root 36. So I know that I'm just concentrating on that part of the problem right now. I'll bring the rest of the stuff down, but I know I just need to do this first, and so I can just isolate that. And I think for some of you that helps you because it's not as busy to look at just that portion of it. Alright, 2 to the 5th. Hopefully you remember, but 2 to the 5th is just the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you did that operation, I think you would get 32. I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to write that down, 32. Okay. And then we look at this. Okay, well, what is the square root of 36? That's just 6. So this is just 32 minus 6. And you take away 6 from 32. Let's see, what would you get? I think 26 is the answer. Alright, and now I'm just going to bring down the rest of it. Minus 45 divided by 3 squared plus 8. Order of operations tells me that what I need next is an exponent, so I'm going to do the exponent and rewrite it again. 26 minus 45 divided by 9, because 3 squared is 9, plus 8. Next up in the order of operations, well, divide is going to happen next. So I'm going to do 45 divided by 9, that's 5, I'm pretty sure. So 26 minus 5 plus 8. Subtraction and addition I think of as being on the same level. So once you get to where everything's on the same level, you just work from left to right. 26 less 5 is going to be 21. And then 21 plus 8 equals 29. So 29 is the answer for 17. And I did a lot of steps. I worked through it very slowly. But given you have an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and a half to do the final, you would have enough time to do these problems like this. I think a lot of people get in trouble because they just want to rush through them. They want to do a bunch of it in their head, which if you're smart enough to do it, you can go for it, but this is the safest way. So let me take a look at another one I thought might be challenging for some people, number 20, where you have 1/2 x squared plus 2/3 y. Notice the difference between these two, and this one up here you didn't have any variables. This one has variables, but they tell you what the variables equal. So it's not like solving equations, because in the problem they tell you that x is equal to -4, and you also are told y is equal to 9/2 or 9/2. So what you do is you take the information you're given and substitute that there, substitute the y there. So let me rewrite it. 1/2 x is -4, so I'm going to write that in, -4 squared, right? I just substituted this into that. Plus, now I got 2/3, and I'm told that y is equal to 9/2. So again, I'm going to substitute that 9/2 into here. And now I can start to simplify. You have to follow the order of operations, right? So what's -4? So you have to do the exponent first. -4 squared. And if you take a -4 and multiply it by a -4, you're going to get a positive 16. So this will be 1/2 times 16, which I can write as 16 over 1 if I want to get a fraction paired with a fraction. Don't have to do that. Here we're doing 2/3 times 9/2. Well, you could cross cancel these 2's out, right? But I'm going to go ahead and multiply them and then reduce, just take the long way, because I think some people, again, they just find that easier. You could see that this is, these 2's cancel out, and then 9 can be divided by 3. But let's just go ahead and multiply straight across. You would get 18 on the top, 6 on the bottom, right? Okay, and then here, if I multiply these together, I get 16 over 2. So I got 16 over 2 plus 18 over 6. Well, both of these, you can, I don't need to get a common denominator, because 16 can be divided by 2, right? 16 divided by 2 is 8. 18 divided by 6 is 3. And so I get 11. Now again, you could have saved yourself some time. Like right here, I could have, cross-canceled. I could have said, well, I know that 2 goes, 16 divided by 2 is 8. I could have done that and seen that, oh, it's 8. And then here, I could have said these 2's undo each other. And then, 9 divided by 3 is 3. And I could have seen that, oh, that's just going to be 3. Like, I could have taken that shortcut there. Either way gets you to the same answer. All right. Let's take a look at 21. Here we've got a lot of letters. We got a w squared minus the square root of 3v plus x, and it's all divided by w plus v minus 1. Very busy expression. But again, we don't have to solve for these variables because they tell us what they are. They tell us that v is 6. We're told that w is negative 9. And then we're told that x is 7. And so I'm going to just plug all of these into the expression. Where I see a w squared, I always do parentheses when I'm substituting because it will help me to avoid silly mistakes. Minus square root 3 times 6, again I'm going to use my parentheses, plus 7, divided by negative 9. Here, since it's by itself, I guess I won't do parentheses, plus 6 minus 1. Okay, now all I did on that step right there is I didn't do any math really. I just took what they gave me and plugged it into it. I just took the information they gave me, and again, I would recommend doing this. Some of you try to work too fast, you make some silly mistakes. Now I need to go by the order of operations. Alright, remember what the order of operations is. I have to do exponents first. Negative 9 squared, that's the same thing as negative 9 times negative 9. So I'm going to get an 81. Minus, and you can sort of treat like everything under the square root is sort of like a parentheses, kind of. So I need to do that first. I get 3 times 6, that's going to be 18. And then plus 7. Down here, I do the 6 minus 1, parentheses. So here's another thing that's interesting, like when you're doing fractions like this, simplify the top first as much as you can, although I can do it a little bit more, but simplify the top and then simplify the bottom, and don't try to do the dividing part until the very end, right? Get everything on the top simplified first, get everything on the bottom simplified, and then at the end, if you can divide them, divide them. Let me show you what I mean if that's not clear. So I got negative 9 here, and this is parentheses, right? So now I'm just focusing on the bottom. So I got to do this parentheses here. 6 minus 1 is 5. So I got that. Now remember, I can still simplify more up on the top. I just told you, so I can ignore the bottom for right now since I'm just simplifying. If I have 18 and 7, that's going to be 25. So this will be 81 minus square root 25. On the bottom, now I can kind of ignore the top and keep simplifying the bottom. Negative 9 and 5 would be a minus 4. Okay, but I'm still not done because I can still simplify this even more. So square root of 25 is 5. And so I'll have 81 minus 5 all divided by negative 4. And then if you have 81 minus 5, I think that is 76 divided by negative 4. And I don't think, does 4 go into 76 evenly? I should have done this before I actually started recording. Let's find out. Let's find out because I don't know. 4 divided into 76. 4 goes into 7 once, right? Oh, it does go in evenly. Look at that. 4 goes into 36 19 times. So that will be, now remember, I've got a positive divided by a negative. So that's going to be a minus 19. There we go for problem 21. All right. I'm going to move on to some of the solving problems. And I wanted to start with 28. So let me do 28 here. This is where we have 2, sorry I'm getting blurry here, 2/5 A minus 9 equals negative 17. Focus. Let's see if I have to, there we go. Okay, now we're getting into solving because we got an equal sign. We have equations and so we need to solve these equations. Hold on, I'm going to try to see if I can focus this in a little bit better. Manually. There we go. Okay. So when you're solving step 1, you need to ask, is there, I'm going to move my arrow here a little bit, is there anything I can do to simplify? On the left side, can I simplify 2/5 A minus 9? And the answer is no, because these are not like terms, right? This has an A, this doesn't. So then I look to the right side. Well, no, you can't simplify that because it's just a number. I got negative 17. So once you're done simplifying is when you follow the order of operations. When you're solving, you do inverse operations in reverse order, right? So what I'm going to do first is take a look at the minus 9. And again, I do an inverse operation. What is the opposite of minus 9? And the answer is, it is plus 9. So I'm going to take minus 9 and then I'm going to add a 9 to this side. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to add a 9 over here. Right? And the reason I do that is because these 9s, they undo each other. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. And that's what I want. I want to get rid of them. So I have now 2/5 A equals negative 17 plus 9 is minus 8. Okay, here I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do this. The one that I think is easier but longer is I want to get rid of 5 right here. I don't want that fraction. And so again, I'm going to do an inverse operation. Now this is 2 divided by 5, right? Divided by 5. What's the opposite of divided by 5? It is times 5, right? And again, what I do to one side, now 5 over 1 is just 5, so don't panic. I'm just writing that there to show you how they cancel out real nice. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I'm not going to write 5 over 1. I could if I wanted to, but it's just 5, right? So the reason I do that, again, is because these guys will undo each other, and now I just have 2A. And over here I've got a minus 40. What's the opposite of times 2A? It is divided by 2. And then what I get is A equals negative 20. Now there's another thing I could have done here at this point when I got my 2/5 A equals negative 8. I could have used what's called the multiplicative inverse, meaning the multiplicative inverse of 2/5 is 5 halves. And I could have just done that to both sides. The beauty of the multiplicative inverse is they completely undo each other. Like these 5s undo each other, these 2s undo each other, and now I've just got A there. And I just have to do negative 8 times 5 over 2. That's negative 40 over 2, or negative 20. Or I could have cross-canceled right here, right? I said I know 2 goes into 8 4 times. Could have done that. Still got negative 20. So there's some options for you there. Let me take a look at problem 31 next. This one is pretty busy. You got 8 times 2y plus 5, close parentheses, equals 12y minus, parentheses, 2y plus 14. Okay. Now, when we did 28, remember, what was the first thing I said we need to do? We need to simplify. We didn't have anything we could simplify on either side, but 31's different. So now I look at just the right side first, and I say, can I simplify that? And the answer is yes. I can use the distributive property. I can do 8 times 2y, and that'll give me 16y. I can do 8 times 5, and that will give me 40. Okay, now I got to look at this side. Can I simplify that? Yes, I can. When you have a minus sign, you don't have to do this when it's a plus sign. If this were a plus sign, I could basically just take the parentheses away, and it would be fine. If you have a minus sign, you basically have to distribute, that's how I think of it. I have to distribute that minus sign in there. So what I'll do is, it's like multiplying by negative 1. What's negative 1 times 2y will be negative 2y. And then what's negative 1 times 14? Well, it's a minus 14. This step right here, pay attention to that. It trips people up. But all I did is I basically treated that like a negative 1 and multiplied both of these by negative 1. Now, I can still simplify, right? Because these guys here are like terms. They are like terms. So I need to keep simplifying before I start solving. Always simplify as far as you can. So this is 14. That will be 10y minus 14. Yeah, sorry, so just ignore my little mistake there. Okay. Here you've got options, and again, this is what frustrates people. There's 4 different things I could do right now. I could subtract 16 from both sides. I could subtract 40 from both sides. I could subtract 10 from both sides. I could add 14. Take your pick. Now, I like positive numbers, and I know that 16 minus 10 will give me a positive 6. So what I'm going to do first, although I don't have to do this first, but I'm going to choose to do this first, I'm going to choose to subtract 10y from both sides. Remember, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I'm trying to get y isolated, which means y all by itself. Right? I need all the y's on one side, and then eventually get y all by itself. Remember, inverse operation. You don't put a plus 10 when the 10's out in front, but it's always a plus if there's not a sign out in front. So subtracting these two, they undo each other. 16 minus 10y is 6y plus 40 equals minus 14. Okay, because these guys, again, they undo each other. They went away. Now I'm at this point here, and I still need to get y all by itself. All the y's need to be alone, so I need to subtract the 40 now. I need to subtract 40. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Remember, this is an inverse operation. If you're stuck, think inverse operation. I've got to do an opposite. What's the opposite of plus 40? Minus 40. Inverse operations. Okay, this trips some people up sometimes. So I get 6y by itself now. Remember your rules though. Negative 14. Negative 14 minus 40. What is that going to give me? Negative 54. Remember, if the signs are the same, you basically add them together and keep the sign. So if I got a negative 14 minus a 14, it's going to be negative 54. You get to this point, what do? Inverse operation. I can't say it enough. What is the opposite of 6 times y? It is 6, divided by 6, sorry. The opposite of times 6 is divided by 6. And so what I do to one side, I have to do to the other, and now I get y is equal to negative 9. Now, if I were taking a test and I had time, I would check that answer, I'd plug it back up here and make sure that I got it right. I'm not going to do that now, but I do recommend it. Let me do a couple more here. Let's take a look at 34. Here's one that I expect is going to give people a lot of heartache. We got 2 divided by x plus 8 equals 4 times x minus 1. Okay. You might recognize this, hopefully, as a proportion. We've talked about proportions before. Remember, a portion is when you have two equivalent ratios. These are ratios. They have variables, but they're just ratios. I have a ratio over here, 2 divided by x plus 8. I have a ratio over here, 4 divided by x plus 1. When you have a proportion, what you want to do is cross multiply. I'm going to multiply the 2 times the x plus 1. I'm not going to simplify it. I'm just going to get 2 times x minus 1. I won't worry about simplifying it yet. And then I'm going to multiply this guy by 4. So 4 times x plus 8. I have a proportion. I want to clear the fractions. I can cross multiply like that. Now my work is not done because now I've got to simplify, right? 2x minus 1 is not simplified. You want to simplify as much as you can. So you have to distribute the 2. You get 2x minus 2 equals 4x plus 32. Right, I distributed the 4. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 8 is 32. And now I'm in the same boat I was in up here where I've got, well, right there, where I've got a lot of options. I can subtract 2x from both sides. I can add 2 to both sides. I could subtract 4x from both sides. I could subtract 32. You pick which inverse operation makes you the happiest. And what I'm feeling right now is subtracting 2x. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 2x from both sides. And now I get minus 2 equals 2x plus 32. Okay, now what I want to do is, remember, like you got choices here. I got a 2x, so I'm going to have to divide by 2 to get rid of that. And I've got a plus 32. But remember, we've simplified completely. So when you've simplified completely, you do the inverse operation in reverse order. So what I'm going to do is subtract 32. That's what I want to do first. Subtract 32 from both sides. Remember, be careful here. Negative 2 minus 32, that's going to be a negative 34 equals 2x. I'm running out of room here. But now I'm going to divide. So now I do an inverse operation again. What's the opposite of times 2? Divide by 2. I do that. These 2's undo each other. Negative 34 divided by 2 is, I think, negative 17. And so that is what x equals. I can write it over here. X equals negative 17. Okay, let me try one more real quick, hopefully. The famous perimeter, this is problem 36. The famous perimeter problem I'm always talking to you guys about. P equals, and then we get 2L plus 2W. And you're asked to solve this for W. Alright, so when you get a problem like this that has 3 variables, and they ask you to solve for one of them, that means you are going to have letters in your answer. Your answer is not going to be like W equals 2 or W equals some number. My answer is going to have L in it, and it's going to have P in it. I'm going to have P in my answer. Okay. So how do I get W all alone? Well, I got 2L. First of all, can I simplify anything? And no, I can't. These are not like terms. Can't simplify them. P is already by itself. So everything's simplified. I need to get rid of the 2L because, again, my goal is to get W all by itself. So I subtract 2L from both sides. So this will be P, I'm not going to write it out like I've been doing, this will be P minus 2L equals 2W. Another thing I've told you before is like if I want to get this 2L on the left side and it's on the right side, I just move it over and switch the sign. There's another way to think about it. Okay? Just move it over, switch the sign. Now, I need to get W all by itself. Remember, inverse operation, inverse operation. What's the opposite of times 2? It's divide by 2, but you have to divide everything by 2. Divide everything by 2. And now you're basically done. Like what we end up with is P over 2 minus L, right? Because these 2's undo each other, equals W. So I have solved for W, and like I said, I have P and L in my answer, but that is okay.